Well, a very good afternoon to everyone joining us at home, watching on the Leyton Orient YouTube channel, and to everyone here that's joined us at the Recruitment Stadium today. We're delighted to be joined by Director of Football Martin Ling, and of course the new first team manager Kenny Jackett. So going to have a few questions from the press today on the appointment. So to start things off, Jacob, I'll give this.
I suppose first and foremost, welcome to Leyton Orient, Kenny. I suppose what sort of attracted you to the club first and foremost?
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm really excited by the challenge. It is a new challenge for me. I want to build on the good work that's been put in here, coming out the conference, stabilising in League Two, and my own personal ambition is to then push on and compete at the top end of League Two. I certainly think that Leyton Orient is capable of it traditionally, and with the structure and the setup that they currently have, and it's a big challenge for the new season, but that's what's attracted me here, and one that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, you touched on sort of playing near the top end of the table. The ambition's been sort of clear from the club. I suppose that's something you'll sort of thrive under as well. Yeah,
very much so. I do think it's a club that can do that. As I say, traditionally it's a club that can compete, and also, with the current setup, board of directors that are here, I think it's capable as well. So that's the attraction. And you should never start any season without being optimistic and aiming for the top, and that has to be the case. Obviously, there's realism along the way, and most importantly, you have to work out a plan of how you're going to do it. Traditionally, League Two is a very tight division. The points total, it's obviously slightly different with the 3 and 7 as opposed to the 2 and 6, which is the norm for automatic and playoffs. But also it's a very, very tight division. There's fine margins in it, and never easy to be successful in any division. But similarly, I do think that Orient are ready to be able to compete this season at the top end of this league.
Mm-hmm. And you personally, you've sort of had some good battles with Orient when you was at Wolves in League One. I suppose that sort of shows you how far the club can go and how far they've been in the past.
Yeah, and traditionally, obviously, I've been in and around the London area a lot myself as a player, as a coach, as a manager with Millwall for 6 years as well. So I do feel I know the club, I know the potential of it. I do think that there's a cycle to clubs, and Leyton Orient are ready to be successful and have a successful period, and that's the attraction for me.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you know plenty about the players that perhaps in contract or maybe not as of yet, and have probably had a look at them, just a bit of homework as well.
Yeah, there's some work to do with squad planning, and squad planning is a vital part of it, the most important one, but the summer is the best time to do that. And there's quite a low number of players in contract. There's a high number of players that are in talks about new contracts, but also if there was a lot of players that maybe failed in the past or weren't quite right to be here, I do see it as something of a blank canvas as well, and so that's good. But I won't deny in the weeks running up to pre-season there's some work to do, definitely, and as a new manager I do value pre-season. I think it's vital, and looking forward to putting my own stamp on the squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you spoke about that blank canvas. I suppose for any manager walking in, it's sort of a real nice challenge to have that, isn't it, to sort of mesh your own squad?
Yeah, it is a challenge, but I do feel that we are capable of getting a squad together that can compete this year. There's some hard work to be done in the coming weeks, but that's an exciting challenge for us. And then, as I said, the second phase is that actually making sure that work on the training ground, sees you through that vital pre-season period and stands you in good stead for a busy schedule once League Two starts.
Mm-hmm. And one sort of more, I suppose, catered to the fans. They're obviously delighted with such a big name appointment. What sort of playing style can they expect?
I certainly want to attack. I want to try to score goals. I want to be on the front foot. I want to produce an offensive, high pressing, attacking game.
And Martin, I'll come over to you if that's all right. And I suppose the hard work doesn't really stop here, does it? You got the man, but there's plenty more to be done.
No, but when you're ever constructing anything, you need a captain, of the ship, and I feel that the captain is here in terms of Kenny. The process was a process that was a long process. It was a process that we went through thoroughly. Kenny was the first person that I spoke to actually, the possibility of coming here, and when I spoke to Kenny, part of me was thinking, will Kenny drop to League Two? But once I spoke to Kenny and spoke about the club and give our side of how things are here at this present time, Kenny bought into that, and he remained the main candidate throughout, and I'm delighted that Kenny's sitting there. Someone said to me just now, it's only 2 weeks ago the Salford game was. It seems an awful lot longer than that for me, because I've been doing the process, and we did do it thoroughly. But the reconstruction with Kenny now, we can really get into the building of. There's 2 bits to build really. There's still some staffing issues to build, and we will do that. But there's also players as well to fetch into the club. The 5 players that are sitting on the contract offer, if they come to me and say we're lacking ambition, then I'll say, well, we're not, because we've got Kenny Jackett in the building. So that's what we're about. We're about building things. I'm excited, really excited. Driving here today, it felt calming for me to have, because I've been doing the role of being the manager and trying to find a manager, as well, because of the situation previously. So I'm delighted Kenny's in here. We've got a recruitment meeting straight after this, and the recruitment team are downstairs with lists of names, but them lists of names are no good without a football manager. And now we've got a proper football manager, them lists of names now come to life.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose the sort of saying that's been bound around the club is a bit of a new era. Would you see it that way, or?
Yeah, I think I would, because there's we've been through a cycle. Kenny's talked about a cycle there, and you look at, we come into the club and it was on its knees. If you think this is a summer to worry about, nothing's ever going to be a summer where I had no players, no staff, and nothing else really at the football club. So that was an hard build. We got out of the National League within 2 years. And that cycle has took us now to 17th in League Two, 11th in League Two. I think now we can push on, as Kenny rightly said, to the top part of League Two and try and get into League One. There was a 6-year plan putting together when I first walked into the club. We are where we are in 4 years, so effectively we've got 2 years to get to League One, but I wouldn't turn it down in 1 year.
Mm-hmm. And you sort of touched on the staffing issues. I suppose there's probably scope for Kenny to have a tweak around as well. Yeah,
that's. I spoke to Kenny about that previously. Yeah, there's not going to be mass changes, but there is scope for Kenny to fetch some staff members that he values and who he feels will help him to help us to move forward.
Perfect, that's brilliant for me.
Thank you.
Hi there, Bradley from TalkSport. Kenny, just to kick things off from you, obviously you've had an established career in Championship and more recently League One, and perhaps some people on the outside of Leyton Orient may see this as a little bit of a surprise or a gamble from you, the fact that you've taken this step and decided to come down to League Two for the first time in your managerial career. What would you say to them who maybe see that as a little bit of a surprise or a gamble from you?
No, I've been down in League Two before. I worked for Swansea. I left it was assistant manager at Queen's Park Rangers going into the Championship, and came down to Swansea, who were halfway in League Two at that particular time, and they started their journey, and that's been some journey. I do understand though what you're asking though as well, but in terms of picking a job, I've always gone with my gut feeling on a job, and sometimes some jobs are more appealing from the outside than they are from the inside, but I do feel that in terms of Leyton Orient, I think that there's potential there. I think that it will suit me. I think that it's a job and a club that I can galvanise and lead, and for that feeling, for that gut feeling, I've expressed my interest in the job, and then gone through the interview process, which has been very professional, very thorough, very extensive. But similarly, as much as the board of directors are interviewing me as a potential candidate, and many others, obviously, because that's the way it is. As a an established manager, you're then listening to see how you would fit in, and I've been very impressed with everybody, and I do feel, as I said, it's a club with potential, and me realising that potential is an exciting challenge, and hence, the reason I made the decision to come.
You mentioned there about potential. Obviously, Nigel Travis and Kent Teague have really backed this club ever since they've come in. I mean, how excited are you to work with them, and what's your initial impressions been of them too?
Yeah, they're very impressive, very clear thinking, and very strategic in their thinking. Have been in the interview process with me, and I'm sure with other people as well. But I am looking forward to working with them. As you say, there's some good work done here previously in years go by many people, from Joby sort of, back, I think there'll be continued success, and the potential is there for continued success at Leyton Orient.
And just a couple for Martin as well. Obviously, the fact we've got Kenny Jackett sitting here, what does that say about the level of interest and the quality of candidates that you had for this position?
Yeah, it's the highest we've ever had. There's no doubt about that. The people that come forward to register interest was really pleasing to see, and I think the evidence is that Kenny is sitting there. I mean, you talked about. I'll go back to the other question, League Two. When I first spoke down, the process, you have a coffee with me first, which is me filling the manager out, and the manager's probably filling me out as the director of football, which is fine. That's the whole point of it. But Kenny talked about our players, talked about League Two. Spoke about a little bit of a blind spot maybe on League Two, and just watched League Two games since he's left Portsmouth. He talked about our team better than I could talk about our team, so that was very impressive. But everybody that had a coffee with me, which was 8 people, I tell you, it was 8 people, and 5 people moved to the second phase, and only 2 people moved to the third phase, and Kenny comes out at the top end of it. When I first sat down with Kenny, I come away from the coffee meeting thinking I could offer it him now in my head, but that's we don't do things like that. We go through the process, and maybe I was trying to sell the club, but I didn't have to tell any lies about this football club. This football club is well run. It's financially in an absolutely wonderful position. There's not many people who can say that during the pandemic. With Nigel and Kent, I've worked with them for 4 years, and it's been the best 4 years I've ever had in football. They just drive you, and yeah, we come out of it, and say Kenny sat there, and people talked about. There was a lot of talk about Kenny Jackett. We won't get him. The be all and end all was from the first minute that I sat and talked with Kenny. I believe we could, and I'm really glad that we have.
Obviously, we're sitting in the Justin Edinburgh stand now, and Justin is someone who will never ever be forgotten by the club, and his legacy will go on for many, many years. I mean, now, obviously, Ross and then Joby have had to deal with a lot of the squad that Justin had, and now a lot of them have left this summer. Is this a real opportunity for maybe a manager like Kenny to build his own legacy like Justin did? Yeah,
I mean, look, nothing will ever be forgotten about Justin. He was a close pal of mine, and sometimes it gets difficult when people talk about it, because it's been 2 years. I didn't realise how much effect it had on me, if I'm honest with you, and maybe some of the the appointments or the amount of managers we've gone through is I don't want to find another Justin, but I want to find someone that can lead like Justin did, and my job was easiest when Justin was in charge. I have got no great interest on what goes on at the training ground. It's over. I like to put people in place in any role within the industry that are below me that can do the job, and I dip in and out of them situations and help where I can. And Justin has put us on where we are now, and yeah, it's 2 years ago, and I was just saying just now, I don't feel like I've had a lot of time off in the last 2 years, because you had Justin's death 2 years ago, which was devastating, and then we had COVID this summer. So I don't never want to say that someone's going to come in and be the new Justin Edinburgh, because there's only one Justin Edinburgh. But I'm sure Kenny will make himself a proper legacy at this football club that we can all be proud of.
And finally, for me, you mentioned about the state that the club is in financially off the pitch, and that's obviously not something that a lot of clubs will be in other divisions, even as far as the Championship as well. I mean, how important is it that hopefully the fans are going to be back here next season, and we're hopefully going to be as close to full capacity as we can?
Yeah, the football's not the same without fans. I mean, I've sat with two other people, with Danny Macklin and Matt Porter, at every game we've had this season, apart from when I was off myself with COVID, and it's a game of football. The result is the same, but you don't get the same feel when you come away from it, whether you win or lose. It's just the fans are the people that fetch that through. The fans have got behind us here, you know, during they've been to the dark days, you know, with nearly losing the club. And obviously everything's risen from there. I think we've took it to a certain level, and going back to that cycle thing is that we're now pushing to that next level. But we need the fans, we need people to buy season tickets, we need the people to back us. But they've always done that at this football club, and they will do it again. And we hope to put a product on the pitch that they're all proud of going forward.
Brilliant, thank you.
Sorry, back with Kenny again. I think on the subject of Justin Edinburgh and what Martin Ling was mentioning about the recent history of this football club, how important is it for you to know that history and to be aware of that coming into this job?
It's very important. I am very aware and you know, respectful of that, and want to build on, you know, a lot of good work that's gone on in recent seasons, and continue to play my part in continuing to take it forward. That's where it is. So it's a club I do feel I know very well. You know, I do think it's very capable as well. You know, as it stands, as things stand at the moment, and also, you know, I want to continue and build on the excellent work that's been done by a high number of people here.
It has been in quite a fragile situation in the past, but do you think you're joining a club that's on much more solid foundations now?
It is on solid foundations. The whole industry, and you could say to a degree, the whole country is still on tender hooks, you know, with the overall situation, and you know, football's no different. Feeling the way we're hoping, we're optimistic about people coming back and it returning to normal, but obviously along the way we're all wary. You know, that's part of the process, but you know, we know where we want to go as an industry. We do want the supporters back. I personally, as the manager, think it's a unique opportunity with the supporters having been away, that they're going to come back with even more enthusiasm initially. Now, capitalising on that, picking up on that, making sure that you exploit that to the team's benefit, get a really good link between the supporters and the players. You know, that's my aim now. As you know, I'm excited by the supporters coming back in the start of the season.
We've spoken about the financial stability here, which is good news, but do you think one of your challenges will be that you'll be working with a budget that's less than you've been used to? Yeah,
but it's relevant to the division as well that you're in. Obviously the expectation of each club is slightly different, and also as well, you need to be able to do things in different ways, and that's important. And you know, if you go back to sort of when I went into Millwall, they were maybe bottom 4 of League One, and you know, there's slight, so each scenario is different, each club is different, and the expectation level, but sometimes the way that you have to do things is slightly different as well. And you know, while a budget is obviously a massive advantage and part of it isn't the whole package, and it isn't everything. You do need to be competitive in that area, and then it's about capitalising on it.
It might be unfair for me to ask you about players who are out of contract that you're particularly hoping to keep here, but I'm wondering if you being here will be a way of persuading them to stay if they've been tempted to leave until
I think for all of the players that are under contract, they would all be naturally waiting to see, you know, who the manager is, and waiting for the appointment for the club to go forward. So, you know, for that part is done. You know, I'll be speaking to the players within the next few days anyway, and also the players that are, you know, under negotiations, and you know, wanting to speak to them and make sure we take things forward, because we have to use this time productively. The summer is such an important time for every club. I think if a club has a bad summer, it's very difficult to recover. If you try to do it throughout the season, you always feel that you're fighting fires until the next summer, where you can maybe have a clean sweep and start again. So we want to lay good foundations through the remaining weeks up to pre-season, and then from pre-season the work starts on the training ground, where I can implement my own views and standards on the squad. It's a period I'm looking forward to, but before that, the squad planning is obviously an absolutely vital part of any success that is achieved next year.
And finally from me, I actually on the way in just sort of let fans know that I was coming in and said, is there anything particular you want me to ask you or to hear you say? And most of them were just sort of saying they just want to say thank you and good luck, and they're behind you.
Yeah, we as I said, are looking forward to the fans being back, and it is an opportunity for every club. It will be for us here. We want a good bond between the players and then the fans. And although there's a lot of hard work to be put in now, it's an exciting challenge for me, and both on the training field and off, one that I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi Kenny. 7 years ago now, you were fighting with this club at the top of League One. What do you think the ceiling of this club's ambitions should be?
I think you have to take it one stage at a time. You can look at a big picture, but sometimes it's too big. I do feel that the focus at the moment has to be on competing at the top of League Two and trying to get into League One. I think that's hard enough, but something that is a realistic target as well. So it is one stage at a time. Should we be successful and get to that, we can reassess then and plan what the next stage is. And part of any plan as well would very much depend on what clubs are in that division at that particular time and that season. But for me, it's one stage at a time. How to be successful in League Two is what we will be looking at and will be our aim. There's no doubt about that. And we have to be bold enough to say it, but humble enough to realise that we have to work very hard to get it.
Martin mentioned that you'd watched quite a few of the games since March. What were the key areas that you straight away thought you were impressed with, and things maybe in terms of what you saw on the pitch might need improvement straight away? Yeah,
coming out of the game sort of mid-March, I felt I had a good knowledge of League One, having sort of worked in it recently. There's a lot of the Championship as well that I knew, and really wanted to brush up on my knowledge in League Two generally and the National League. And so, I enjoyed that period. It was good, maybe just starting a file on every club and going through and improving my own knowledge and seeing where it was. So I'd looked at a lot of the division, amongst others as well, and whether it be for potential jobs in the future or for maybe signing players. You can't have a good enough knowledge, and with the platforms that are available, you can get build up an excellent data yourself personally on exactly what everybody's doing and who's around. And so in terms of League Two, I did that. I came across Orient a lot during the course of that, and did feel that coming into it I had a good knowledge of the club and how they'd done this season.
And just on a personal level, the last year has been incredibly difficult for everyone in football. How did you find it managing during a pandemic?
Yeah, it's just strange days, obviously. We're fortunate though in football that we've been able to do our job, and it has been different. But we've been a lot more fortunate than a lot of other industries and people in the country. So it was for the greater good. And although it was different, preparing for the playoffs sort of last year, if you like, was sort of totally different when you're talking about March 2020 and April, the different months. But as I said, we're privileged to have been able to do our job through the pandemic, and we're pleased to be coming out the other side.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, with that then, I think that will conclude our live press conference, and then we'll split now into to two one-on-ones.